Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Dad Life. So we are doing some crazy things here at The Dad Life. We're starting to get into emergency preparedness. We're still doing product reviews. We've got a couple of those coming up. And now we're going to get into a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and that is cars. I love cars. Now there's a million videos out there with how to change an oil, how to replace a battery, and simple stuff like that. Frankly, if you don't know how to do that on your own, then that's why they have YouTube, is to help folks like yourself. But you are here because you want to see something different. You want to do something a little different, and hopefully you are trying to be a little different than everyone else out there. So on this channel, when we talk about cars, we're probably going to focus just more on classics. And that brings us to the newest acquisition to the Dad Life Garage, and that is my beautiful, new to me, 1966 Thunderbird. We're going to have my lovely camera assistant go around and just get some shots of this car while I'm talking about it. Now, if you're familiar with the Ford Thunderbird, Ford introduced the Thunderbird in model year 1955, and it was a two-seater sports coupe, and it was meant to compete with the European sports cars of the day. Now, that body style went from 55 to 57, and it quickly became a classic here in America. Thunderbirds were an iconic badge for the Ford Motor Company. And in the early days, those 55 to 57 model years, they were a two-seater, two-door sports coupe. Now, Ford never wanted it to compete really with what would be Chevy's sports car, the Corvette. And they started badging it as a personal luxury vehicle. Come along into the next generation, second generation Thunderbirds in 1958 to 1960, and you get the two-door, four-seat concept. That became the familiar model with the Thunderbirds throughout the rest of its history. And then after that model year, you get the 61 to 63, and those have kind of the front beak nose on them. It kind of comes down to a rounded point. Looks like the beak of a bird. And those were some beautiful Thunderbirds for the day. And then you get to this generation, the third gen Thunderbirds. Excuse me, fourth gen Thunderbirds. These are fourth gen Thunderbirds. 64 to 66s. And these ones take on a whole new design concept. They're lower, longer, leaner, and they're very space age. They have these flared out body lines here above the doors, and they're known as flare birds today. And this is really the last of that iconic Thunderbird look. After this, the cars start to become more bloated. They don't know if they want to compete with the Lincolns, and they kind of lose a little bit of their identity until you get into the 90s, and they're more of just your average everyday car. It just happens to be a two-door, four-seat V8. And it died a sad death, the Thunderbirds. Discontinued in 99 and brought back in 2002. They went to 2005. The 2002 to 2005 reboot was meant to be like in the vein of the Chevy HHRs and the Chrysler car that looked like a retro vehicle. It was meant to be styled after the models in the 50s. It was a convertible with a hardtop, and it just didn't go over well. Ford in that period of time in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, was going through a real junky period. Their products just weren't very good, and so the Thunderbird ends up being discontinued in 2000 after model year 2005, and we haven't seen it since, which is unfortunate because these Thunderbirds really were a personal luxury vehicle. They had some of the top of the line features at an affordable price. This would be your businessman sports car, is another way that you could put it. If you wanted to look nice and go quick, this is the car that you were going to do it in, especially in the 60s. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a series on the 66 Thunderbird, and we're going to walk you through this car and kind of talk about it. Now, obviously, this is a classic car. It looks good. It's probably an 8, maybe a 7 out of 10. It needs some things. It needs a little work. And what we're going to do on the channel, and hopefully with your help and your support, so if you like what we're doing, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're going to bring this bird up to daily driver status. That is our goal. We want this thing to be able to function like new and be able to just drive around the streets here in Las Vegas and really relive its glory days. And we want to preserve this car and be a steward for this car until we pass it on from the Dad Life Studios into the next generation. So come with me, join me as we start this journey with this beautiful 1966 Thunderbird.